Hello everyone, it's St. here and welcome to another album review. Today we will be reviewing the Marvin Gaye What's Going On 1971 album. This is a great album, a little history behind it. Marvin Gaye before this made a lot of 60s soul songs. Songs kind of sound like Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, the Supremes. He kind of had songs that sounded a lot like that. A big thing about Marvin Gaye is his voice is really good. One of the best singers of all time. If you could say he's the best, and I wouldn't even argue with you. Before that, he made a lot of love songs, a lot of songs that be used in the bedroom, and he never really made anything too serious, too emotional. Soul music, he hit your soul, but he didn't it wasn't actually really that serious. A big thing with this album is that his partner, who he did a lot of music with, Tammy Terrell, and who he did the song Ain't No Mountain High Enough, died a year before he made this album. She died of cancer, and because of that, it really put Marvin Gaye in a really sad and really dark place in his life. He already had been struggling with his dad, who was not the best, and ended up being the reason for his death. But this also was a big thing, and that's what kind of inspired him to make this album. Also, just with the way the country was going at this time, this was not a good time in the United States. This was a time of big division, kind of like what we're seeing now. A time of where we're in a Vietnam War, a war that we should not be in, where innocent people are dying for no reason. A time when it's the civil rights movement, a lot of racism and a lot of hate towards white and black people during this time, and also so that going on, but also Marvin Gaye with the personal stuff with his dad and with his partner Tammy Terrell made him want to release this album, and because of it, we get one of the greatest albums of all time. And What's Going On. He released the song What's Going On, the title track, the opening track of this album, before he released any of this album, and they didn't really want him to make this album, or didn't even want to make him the song What's Going On, but Marvin Gaye really pushed for it, and sure enough, he released the single What's Going On, and it was a huge hit in the United States. And because of that, Berry Gordy agreed to let him make an album, and because of that, he released the amazing album of What's Going On. This is an album that is just such a great album. It already has a great message, but even looking outside of the message, it's just a great album in general. Just a great sound, amazing singing, songwriting. It puts everything together. The themes of this album are kind of like we're talking about, anti-war, against the war, against racism, and the first track being an amazing song, being a song, What's Going On, being a song that just poses the question of what is going on in this country, what is happening. It's such a great question. And he uses the examples of, saying war is not the answer, but only love can conquer hate. Such great songwriting. And this is a big love album too. Marvin Gaye was a big love singer, but this album is just, in general, just love everyone. Love your neighbor, love strangers, love homeless people, love anyone. And What's Going On really sets the tempo for how this album is going to be. The second track, What's Happening, Brother, is a continuation, but talks about from the perspective of someone who has come home from war and has seen that, yeah, this is a terrible country. This is a country that is in ruin and is not doing good at the moment. And he asked the question of what's going on, but instead he asked what's happening. It's so great. And then the third track goes to Flyin the Friendliest Guy, which personally is my favorite. What's Going On is better, but this song is an amazing song. It talks about Marvin Gaye and his drug problem, which was a huge problem in his life. Just such a great look at how drugs control your life, and how you, if you get hooked on that stuff, it's really hard to get off it. It controls your life. And throughout this whole album, but especially in this song, you can just hear Marvin Gaye singing just about the struggle, about how hard it is. You can really just hear the sorrow and the pain in his voice, and it's so amazing. This is a track that's very emotional, and makes me emotional. I'm not even someone who struggles with this stuff. This isn't an album that necessarily hits me, but just seeing from Marvin Gaye and just seeing how his life ended up being, you can't help but feel sad and shed a tear. And then the album takes a bit of a turn, goes to Save the Children, which is a song where Marvin Gaye is talking and singing. Basically just, again, going that Vietnam War perspective of let's save the children, you know, let's save the kids. We don't want a repeat of World War II and World War I, where we had pretty much a whole lost generation of kids who died at 20, 30. Like, let's not have that. And then it has a really, the transition from Save the Children to God is Love is an amazing transition. And it transitions into God is Love. And this is where I feel like the album should be split in half. I mean, if you look at the album, if you buy the record, which I have the record, the split is between the 6-song Mercy Mercy Me. But I feel like the split should be here because the first 4 tracks are very sad, very emotional tracks that really pose that question of what's going on, what's happening, we need change. But then this change from the Save the Children to God is Love is really that change and really kind of, I guess, provides answers in a way. This is a song that is very Christian, very about God, basically saying that, you know, God loves us and God is the answer. And it's an amazing, just such a beautiful song, beautiful songwriting, beautiful singing. And then it transitions from that to Mercy Mercy Me, which is a song that is just really amazing. The album really hits a very just kind of dealing with it, you know, kind of not really posing the question anymore, but kind of just dealing with it and just providing the idea that love is the answer. It goes from transitioning to Mercy Mercy Me to Right On, which is really the only time where it doesn't really have a good transition. But Right On is a very great song that is kind of underrated in this album. It's an amazing song, and it still serves to the whole story of you know, love is the answer. It's an amazing composition, and then it goes to Holy Holy, where this album really hits the most mellow tone. A very deep song. Again, talking about God. That's another big thing about this album is God and love. And Marvin Gaye in this song sings about how you know, Jesus died for us and he gave us a book and we have a lot to learn from that. And then it ends off with a very amazing song in Inner City Blues, Make Me Wanna Holler. An amazing song that probably is the most energetic, probably the most political of this whole album, talking about how Marvin Gaye's just frustrated. He's frustrated and he wants to holler, you know? And it's an amazing way to end the album, kind of on a high note, kind of on an album where you thought it would kind of end on a mellow note, but does not. It ends on a high note. And this whole song in general, the transitions are amazing. It really just feels like one song that's 36 minutes is really what it feels like. It's an amazing example of how to do a concept album and how to do it correctly. And it really paved the way for people like Curtis Mayfield and Isaac Hayes to talk about kind of the struggle too. Curtis Mayfield releasing Superfly a year after, talking about the struggles. That album's a little more political, but this is an amazing album, one that will never be forgotten. People consider it the greatest album of all time. I agree. I think that it undoubtedly is the greatest album. There is not a bad track at all on this album, which you can't really say for any other album. It is just, from beginning to end, it is just such a great album with amazing sound, amazing instrumentation, amazing beats, amazing songwriting, amazing singing. It just, everything just comes together and is so great. You know, even without looking at the message, it is still a great album. But then you add on the message that is such a timeless message that is still relatable today. Maybe not as much so as before, but still is relatable and still is a message that we should definitely revisit. And it's so great, and it's the high point in Marvin Gaye's career. He never really reaches this point again, but very hard to. And this also paved the way for concept albums for Marvin Gaye himself. Him releasing Let's Get It On in 1973, a love album, also a heartbreak album, and a lot of other albums too, later in the 70s and early 80s. And it is probably the biggest statement of the 20th century, music-wise. It is the biggest statement ever. It surprised everyone, and it still lives on today, and I personally love it so much. And so tell me what your thoughts are on this album. Leave a comment in the comment section, and have a good day.